Alright. Chat, listen, I'm here. I apologize, but the baby was enraged, and I had to put him to sleep. Man, I should have framed that differently, shouldn't I? Holy shit, I just realized what I said after I finished. No, like actually, in the baby crib, so that he can sleep, not... Jesus. Anyway, I'm here now. We're going to be talking about Gamergate, but before that, I also want to talk about Kathleen Kennedy being... I actually don't think she got fired. She resigned, right? She was let go. And so, it's an interesting thing that happened because I realized I just don't care. You realize that the opposite of love isn't hate, it's indifference. And there used to be a time when I would get really, really hyped whenever I would hear about a Star Wars product. And now that I hear about, Kathleen Kennedy was there, I'm like, okay. I don't know if anyone can save the franchise, by the way. At least not for me. Maybe you can save the franchise for my son and for the next generation. Like, if you put someone that's better than Kathleen Kennedy, people who actually are going to grow up. Like, obviously, at some point, I'll show my son all of the Star Wars movies. And they would get the bitter taste that we had, which not only came from episode 7, 8, and 9, but from all the comic books, the merchandise, all of the failed animations, and everything that went with it. And they will still like the franchise. Georgescu and Alex Jones again. That doesn't surprise me. Rent is high in Romania. Rent is very low in Romania. Well, where did you get the fact that it's high? A one-room apartment costs like $200 American. Now, obviously, if you live in Romania and you live on a Romanian wage, that's more than a lot. But no, Romania, when it comes to home ownership, is actually one of the best nations in Europe. 90% of the people here own houses or some sort of livable place. The rate of people being disconnected by utilities is historically low. And so rent is down too. Just so you can understand how in Romania, like, people are struggling to rent places. I know that in the West, and this actually baffled my European brain, you don't get to have furniture when you rent a place. So you rent a place and it has no furniture. Like in Romania, people are struggling to make their apartments look as appealing as possible. And like, they buy a house and then they try to use the most fresh and new furniture that they can, which looks appealing, so that they can rent it with the furniture. So when you're renting a place, you're just paying for the place, and that's it. You already have your own furniture there. Now, of course, it can have a little bit of a disadvantage, like if you're not happy with the decorations, if you don't really like how things are, or if you have your own furniture, then it's a problem. But again, like, most people just move in and they pay money, and that's that. Yeah, in Germany, there's no furniture. And again, like, the reason for it is that there's more people that want to rent than there's people that want to provide the apartment, right? So, like, there's a higher demand and a lower supply. In Romania, the supply and demand is kind of balanced. And so you have a lot of people that give the supply struggling with each other, competing with each other in order to become, like, more appealing tenants. And so, like, they actually provide you with a place that has furniture. I get excited when I hear about the new Star Wars show. The AZ and Despero video will be coming shortly after. Do you still get excited when you hear one? Like, haven't you been disappointed enough? Like, how much more disappointment do you need until you're going to realize that, well, shit, whenever a new Star Wars show comes up, probably more of the same disappointment. Anyway, let's look at something else that I noticed on Twitter, and then we can move on to more important things. But one of them is this. Wait, where did I save it? I didn't save it. It's a very rare Stone Tusk comic L, and I fucking didn't save it. Shit. But basically, in the Stone Tusk comic, which I too believe it's a rare L. Never mind, I found it. I was afraid that I lost it forever, but no, it's here. He's basically implying that Half-Life is woke. And I really hate this take. I mean, it's a take you can have, sure, if you want. But know that your take is in the minority, right? Like, there's a lot of people now that are trying to push gaming to the opposite end of wokeness, which I kind of get it. You know, there is a strong cultural backlash, well-deserved. And the backlash is always going to be exaggerated in the beginning, but then it will normalize, right? So now it's at the point where if you have a black character in the game is woke. I don't like this because it waters down the definition of wokeness. It waters down what wokeness really is and why it's horrible. It's not horrible because it had gay people in it or because it had black people in it, right? Like, video games don't need to be Aryan. Like you don't need to have 100% white people of pure stock and then some Christian messaging in order for a game to actually sell. Because at the end of the day, people keep forgetting. And I think, like, this is the trauma that feminism gave us, that video games are actual propaganda vectors. Like, they can be propaganda vectors, but the reality is most people buy video games for entertainment, right? Like, most people go to work, they slave at the wage cage, and when they come home, they want to enjoy and relax. They don't want to pay money so that some corporation feeds them propaganda, whether it's left or right. No, they want entertainment. Now, if that entertainment happens to have a couple of political messages that don't come off as preachy and are open-ended, like, that's fine. But if you're going to have to sit down and listen to the pronouns, or if in the future, if in 20 years from now, you're going to have to sit down to listen to the Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, it's the same level of cringe. It's not in my entertainment, right? Like, that's what I do with the HR lady, and that's what I do at the church. Separate places, separate things. In my entertainment, I want big fat tits and a lot of violence. I'm a simple person with simple needs. If you want to cater to my money, you know, if you think that the audience is the type of people that like to be sat at the table in a role-playing game, then you don't cater to them. Go for the wider audience. I am the smaller audience of massive tits and big amounts of gratuitous violence and gore. That's what I want in my entertainment. I want the fantasy. I want the escapism. I want to murder the aliens and then have the hot babe at my side. You know, the Duke Nukem shit. And so, where does wokeness fit in all this? Well, the problem with wokeness is not the fact that it has black people. Like, the Neverwinter Nights character editor also has black people. The Baldur's Gate character editor also has black people. And I'm talking about the original Baldur's Gate, right? Like, the first one that was made. No, the problem with wokeness is when they race swap a character, right? Like, you have an established character and all of a sudden the character is race swapped. It's when the character is perfect, right? Like, oh, this is a trans character, and look, he is knowledgeable of all things in the universe. He is a good person. He does no wrong. He doesn't come on the wrong side of any issue. He has no flaws, right? Like, that's not entertaining. That's boring. That's poor character design. It's when you're being sat down and lectured about pronouns at the table. It's when the community managers are insulting you and your community. It's when you get censorship, right? And so if you look at it, it's like, why do people say Valve is based? Well, because Valve didn't do any of this, right? Like, Valve, if it fell into the hands of Bill Gates or like a very progressive individual like Amazon, they could have done so much harm to the industry. It's not even amusing. Like, one of the things that they could have done would be to require diversity of every single indie game, right? So, like, they could have had, and they already do, but, like, the reason they do is because of legislation in various nations, right? So, like, if you want to release an indie game on Steam, you're probably not going to be able to make the new Postal because they have a terms of service where they don't allow hate speech in their games. Now, I haven't seen video games taken down from hate speech, but the very fact that that thing is there and it could be triggered at any point is why a lot of game developers don't try to make edgy, tongue-in-cheek games anymore unless they're grandfathered in, because you don't want to risk spending like $60,000 on a project and then that project gets canceled because you can't sell it on Steam and you lose the investment. And so this is why, like, a lot of games are safe. It's because of the terms of service. But, like, Valve could do what Amazon is doing, what Netflix is doing, which is to force every single game, every single indie game, to have diversity, inclusivity, and equity in it. And so you would have, like, exactly the way Netflix is, like, you would have the exact same stuff that you would see on Valve, right? They could decide that they will listen into your conversation in order to train their AI. They could decide that every single game that you play that's on Valve requires them to install a program so that they can harvest the data from their users. And so, yeah, like, Valve is a base company. Now, if you're the type of individual that can't play video games unless every single character is a strong Aryan, like in those Soviet posters for people to work out, right? Okay, Valve is not the perfect company, but, like, looking at the competition and looking at everything else, by all accounts and metrics, Valve is actually a moral corporation. Like, I could say that it's a company that cares more about the customer and the product that they are putting than they care about being on the right side of history, which turns out to be the wrong side if things go on the way they're doing. Hi V, did you see that Piker's new tweet about grooms? What I do know is that Elon Musk has tweeted about grooms. And after Elon Musk has tweeted about grooms, a lot of people that have a beef with Elon Musk are now in Groom's timeline, much to the horror and dismay of Grooms himself. And so, no, I don't know what the tweet is, but if you can show it to me, I would appreciate it. So what did Hassan Piker say about our beloved Grooms? Blacks in game isn't white if he is gay, nerdy, and the safe black. It is woke. I think wokeness is the desire of imposing a political ideology on the customer. And so if you're using a black character in order to make a political statement, then it's woke. How much wokeness also depends, right? Like, it's the same with violence. Like, is a game violent if at one point... Let's put it this way, right? This is how I explain how the market works. Let's say you're a soccer mom, and you really dislike violence. You want your kid to grow up without playing violent video games. And so, you know, like, is the soccer mom going to philosophize and be like, what is violence? Is it like if a character slaps another, like they have an intense dialogue, and at one point, the male character goes, you bitch, you know, and just smacks like in a telenovela, right? Is that a violent video game? If you're a reasonable person, you would conclude it's not. Like, a violent video game is Nuke Nukem, where you blow up the head of an alien and you shit down his neck, right? Like, that is a violent video game. But we can definitely come to a conclusion that there are, like, different levels of violence. So you have, like, explicit violence with blood and gore. You have cartoon violence. You got, like, violence that's implied, censored violence, so on and so forth, right? So, like, if you're a soccer mom that doesn't like violence, well, you're probably going to have, like, your own standard. It's not, like, something mathematic, like a list. But it's going to be, like, certain things that you will consider acceptable and certain things that you'll consider not. And you're going to purchase games based on that. When it comes to the wokeness, like, they pushed and pushed and pushed to the point where now, yeah, like, people are so hypersensitive to this. To the point where they will consider even a single black character in the game to be woke and not worthy of a purchase. Hello, Sean. Since the new trend is woke right, when do we start seeing games that's woke right? So, video games that are woke right, well, it depends what you mean by this. I don't even think that woke right would necessarily be a problem, because we already had games that are woke right and are good, right? So, like, woke right would probably be, like let's say the opposite of social justice act. Like what would MAGA people want in a game? They would probably say that America is the best nation on earth, right? Completely, like, they would go into any side of the conflict, and they would consider America to be in the right, which is pretty much what movies in the 90s were like. Basically, conflicts against America don't have shades of gray. There's no two sides. It's like, no, it's America's point of view, and that's that. It's adherence to the symbols, right? Like, you may have a game where you can destroy every single object, but like the American flag cannot be destroyed at all. So like if you fire a bullet into the wall, it leaves a mark, but if you fire a bullet into the American flag, it doesn't even affect it, right? Like it's a different asset that doesn't get affected by the environment. You may actually like if you want to go like the cringe, like how would the cringe stuff look like? You'd probably get a lecture from people about porn, like why porn is bad and it rots your brain out of nowhere, right? Like you're just in an RPG and you're driving a car and all of a sudden like the character that's next to you just starts going into a rant about like a right-wing talking point that has absolutely nothing to do with the story or the character design. You would probably be sat at the table and get like a lecture about immigrants or like about random shit. But like the cringe there would probably be acceptable. I do think that there's going to be like a lot of stuff that has to do with the male gaze. Like the new woke right is inheriting that aspect from the previous culture where, you know, the male gaze is bad, the male gaze is sinful. They explain it differently, like they have a different rationale for it, so you may have that in it. They have like their own moral panics. Like right now there's a moral panic with anime and shit. It's like, well, this girl has like massive titties and she's got a plump ass, but if you look at the manga on page 45, paragraph 3, she was born in this year and that would make her 17 years old, and therefore if you like this character, you're a pedo. You know, like this is what I get on Twitter when I check what's trending. It's amping up. And so, you know, like there's always moral panics. My main concern is that they're going to at one point go after violence, right? Like they used to do that back in the day, and there's going to be like probably the next generation that's going to say, well, why is there so much violence in American television? Why is there so much violence in cartoons that, you know, like Rick and Morty that kids can watch, even if it's an adult cartoon, like kids are still watching it? Because again, like the definition of kid is a 17-year-old, right? So like why is a 17-year-old watching Rick and Morty with so much violence and gore? Why are all these TV shows violent? Look at the violence we're getting in real life. This is like people are addicted to violence, like they're just hiding their demons by playing video games, but in reality, if you were to give a person a gun, they would enact the violence they saw in the video game, blah, 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 blah. And so, like, that would probably be woke right, you know, like, censoring art based on violence has been done before, will probably be done. Like, I would be shocked if it's not done before. Stuff that's, like, in real life that they want to discourage, drugs, alcohol, like, all of these things will be like, why are they in video games, blah, blah, blah. You know, like, you may have a person that wants to quit drinking, and they play a video game, and they see alcohol, and don't you understand how difficult that makes it for him? Blah, 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 blah. Like, that would probably be the woke right. Fortunately, the culture just shifted, right? So, if that comes to pass, it would take, like, 5 or 6 more years or so. But like, it will happen. Like, I'm 100% sure it will happen, and the reality is going to that it cause, again, a backlash. And it's going to be like the whole Bush era over again, right? Like, the rights are in power, they start moralizing, they start pushing their values onto people that don't share them. And what accomplishes this is that the people will now turn against them. They will support Obama, create social justice activists. The social justice push their values and morality on people that don't share them. And this causes the new generation being against them. It's a wheel. It always has been, right? It's just like a never-ending train. But until the train reaches that point, we can enjoy a small breath of fresh air, like a small time period of grace, where none of these things are being discussed, and we can actually enjoy some unpolluted entertainment for a couple of years, if not months. They are not in power, we are. No, you're not, right? Like, just because you have the politicians, that doesn't mean you're in power. You will be in power when you will have J.D. Vance's as the HR departments of all the entertainment companies. When you will have the J.D. Vance's making their own video games. That's when you'll be in power. Right now, in most of these corporations, the HR hag is still in power. They still have game developers that are woke. And so, you know, like, it will take, it took the left 20 years to get to this point. The idea that you can get to the point where the left was overnight is beyond laughable. No, it's going to be a very long journey that can also be filled with mistakes, accidents, setbacks, so on and so forth. Um, don't tell me I am in GGR Martin's book. It may very well be. I don't know, Todd. You just simple buy from Asia. Yeah, like for now, Asia seems to fill the niche. Unfortunately for the United States, a lot of these Asian companies are flat out buying talent from the West. Like I seen Tencent buying, people that were talented and worked at Blizzard, and people that worked at Ubisoft and all of this. And so it's going to be very difficult for America to start again, because you can always create a new company, you can always buy a new building, you can always buy new technology, but to find new talent is actually incredibly difficult. To find people with the experience. Like, let me tell you something, right? Like, this is something that I've been told by a Blizzard person. And so I was talking with an artist that works at Blizzard. And what he told me is that the reason you probably won't see these types of games anytime soon is because this type of art style just doesn't exist in the West. In the sense that, yeah, sure, like you can find an artist that's talented enough and can draw like this on Twitter. But to find 100 artists that can draw this similar art style in order to create a character that, is consistent in the universe and the lore, it's almost impossible. And so this is why, like, most games either have like an anime aesthetic or a hyper realistic aesthetic, right? Because all the artists that create like this, they were got rid of during third wave feminism. It was like, no, this is misogynistic, this is perverted, this is degenerate, get rid of it. And so you had like the Steven Universe type of thing, which saves money and resources. And you also have like the hyper realistic type of thing, which was helping Nvidia sell graphics cards. But this type of like characters, like this Western art style that was focusing on the stylized but also very human-like looking characters, like you can't find artists for that. I mean, maybe you could, but it would be incredibly difficult. Cause like it's not like getting a commission, right? Because getting a commission is easy. You go on Twitter, and you eventually like find someone that has the style to draw night elves, and you ask him for a night elf. Like, you can do that. But if you actually want to find you want to create a game company, and you need like 10 artists that can draw the same style, to draw the armor, to draw the set pieces and the various weapons that the characters use, and have the same character in different poses and shit, that's not gonna work. Bring back the video games from the Bush era. They were awesome. I would guess JD Vance makes better games than an HR lady. I don't know. Like, JD Vance may actually be also ideologically possessed. I don't know like what his opinion is on entertainment. I noticed that, and this is smart, by the way, like a lot of right-wingers don't talk about entertainment. You don't want to talk about entertainment. The reason games were good during the Bush era is that there was absolutely no censorship. You had the ESRB, but like you could publish a game like Manhunt, basically. And I'm making a game now, and I can tell you that the censorship is absolutely insane. And so when you release a game on Steam, you realize that you have the ESRB thing, which is common sense, right? Like, if your game is adult, you have to mark it as adult. If your game has like violence or blah blah blah, it's 18. Like, that's fine. But then you realize that there are other things, like even in an adult game, there are things that you wouldn't think about that actually matter. So, okay, you got an adult game. Does it have drugs? Does it have violence? Does it have alcohol? Does it have this? Does it have that? In the adult game, is it consensual? So, like, if you have a game like Resident Evil, where you have Lady Dimitrescu chasing you in a mansion, and if she catches you, instead of killing you, she just does the snoo-snoo to you, that's a non-consensual game. That is treated exactly the same as if you have like a strong BDSM game where like the woman doesn't want it, but the man does a Christian Grey on her. Like all of that stuff is regulated, and then you have like regulations for hate speech and the way that you spread medical misinformation, and like literally like there's an entire compendium of stuff that you need to abide if you want to sell your game on Steam. And the Steam TOS is this way because of legal reasons. Like it's not that Steam posted, it's like governments force Steam to have it. And if this happened with Steam, it happens with every other platform, right? So like if you want Sony, Nintendo, it would be almost impossible to publish Postal 3, well, Postal 4 now, or whatever number there are. I think there are 5, right? It would be impossible to publish that, or to publish a Manhunt. The reason for it is this. These games were grandfathered in. So, like, you know, South Park is fine. Like the thing with South Park, there's a scene, I think South Park, the Stick of Truth, where you're being shrank down, and you're like very small, and you're in bed with your parents that are having sex, and you have to dodge the scrotum from your dad. Otherwise, like, he hits you with the scrotum and you die. Like, that's on Steam. Like, that's a video game. If you make something like that today, I think not only like would Steam not allow you to publish that game, but you would get canceled on Twitter. Like, if you make literally that scene, right? So, like, when you go back in time to the Bush era, there was no censorship. Like, people could do the most batshit, insane, crazy game. Just like, either make it incredibly funny, hilarious, whatever. But there was no fear of censorship. It would be impossible to redo Bully. Yeah, like, Bully is another game that would be impossible to be made today. There are porn games on Steam. Do they have alcohol in it? Yes. If they do, then they're locked in certain countries. Are the seeds consensuals or not? If they are locked in certain countries. They're region locked. Most of the adult games on Steam are shovelware. They're basically just like a couple of pixels and some graphics, and that's that. They don't really have gameplay because, again, a lot of people had their games banned because and Steam doesn't even tell you, right? So, like, if you have a game that generates controversy, sometimes it gets banned with no reason given. There was like this game which I think it was called Rape Play or something like that. It was made by a troll, actually, during third wave feminism, just to piss people off. And I think like it would take place in a... Like, it was a very simple game. Didn't require a lot of assets. It was in a subway station, and you had the girl, and, well, you guess by the title. And so, like, that freaked out the United Kingdom. That caused a massive controversy regarding Steam, and I think Steam banned it. But you have to go really hard. Like, you have to freak out the government. Anyway. Do I support PETA? No, because, like, almost every single NGO, it's all about gathering money and not about doing what they're supposed to do. Like, PETA has killed more pets than any other organization that I can think of. Like, I don't know if there's an NGO that killed more pets than PETA. So, like, PETA managed to ideologically convince itself that having a pet is like slavery, and they have the conversation, like, what is worse, the Holocaust or slavery? And they decided that slavery is worse. And so the other solution is better. And I'm not kidding. Like, you can look at articles with this, but, like, PETA has actually taken animals and pets from people's houses and put them down. There's actually a story where they took a dog from a trailer park, I believe. And they put the dog down, and then, like, the owner of the dog had cameras. They caused a massive shit show about it. And eventually, like, PETA apologized and brought them a basket of fruits and vegetables. Right? Like, it's a 100% grift. I mean, not only that, just think about, like, the way they're doing activism, right? So, like, they will go in a public square and, you know, paint a person as if they're burned, and then put that person on a grill as a prop, and pretend that the person is like fried lamb or some shit, right? Or they would take a woman and they would cover her in red paint to look like blood, and they would sit with a knife next to it like an Islamic jihadist and say, this is what you're doing to animals, blah blah blah. Or you wouldn't do it to a human, why would you do it to an animal? And so, like, I'm thinking, like, how normies feel about this. Well, it's like a mental trauma. It's like, okay, you're mentally traumatizing people, but you're not actually convincing anyone of your ideology. Like, no one that I know is like, okay, I became a vegan because I saw this PETA fit. No, like what you're doing is you're just making people disgusted with PETA. Like, you're just making people hate you more. That's it. I've been suspicious of PETA ever since I saw they had the money to do Super Bowl ads. Yeah, it's a grift. Because, like, there's a lot of people that like animals, right? And they're like, well, they don't know any better. They don't look into who they donate money to, and they donate to PETA, and they end up with this senseless activism. Anyway. Let's talk about Saloon. Saloon. Can I also get my... Hold on. I think I can get the pop-up chat. There we go. One of the most unnerving aspects of billionaire Elon Musk is his rampage to the federal government. Like, I love this. Finding government workers that are being paid without doing anything, it's unnerving for Saloon. Also, the fact that they just decree that it's illegal. Well, if it's illegal, why isn't he getting arrested? See, like, this is how, like, the left gaslights themselves into what he is doing is illegal. No, it's not. Like, if it is, the lawyers would crack down on it. They're not. Which tells me, without knowing much about American law, that it's probably quite legal. Hello, Yellow Flash. Welcome to the show. Under the false auspices of efficiency, he's slashing workers at random and target entire departments that happen to have power to hold his business accountable for lawbreaking. See, this is the thing that I love about decoupling from leftist morality. A lot of us, especially in the content creator community, but like even outside, when I go on the street and I talk to people, we are aware that Elon Musk is a grifter. Like, he is grifting with environmentalism. And I think, like, this grift, he is not stupid, despite what people think. And he's noticing that environmentalism is going to be on its way out. And now he's going to start grifting with... arming space, right? Like, putting weapons into space is probably going to be the next grift. And this grift is probably going to be driven by the chads, not by the awful, the affluent women of, affluent white women. No, what? Awful. Affluent white women, liberals. Yes. They're not going to be able to drive this grift. But the thing with grifting is that sometimes when a person grifts, it can actually benefit me indirectly, right? Like, there are certain grifts that even though, like, the person that does them is doing it for its own interests, it benefits me indirectly. Milton Friedman said this very interesting thing, that in order to get good things done, you don't want good politicians, right? The idea that if we put good politicians in charge, we get things done. No. What you want is to make the act of doing good to be profitable for politicians. And so, like, if for Elon Musk it's profitable to fuck with bureaucracy, sure, like, his businesses are going to be in an advantage. Like, he's going to fuck with the people that are investigating his businesses and all of that. But, like, if you do a little bit of a math, if you look at, okay, how many people benefit from less government? Well, a lot of people. Okay, so we have this saying, it takes a thief to catch a thief. It takes a nail can pull out another nail, right? And the American justice system also functions based on this mentality. Like, if you have a criminal that can rat out 100 of his accomplices, the American justice system in some cases can say, okay, you get free. Like, we're going to pardon you for doing what you did. But if you rat out who your supplier was and who your accomplices were, then we're going to lock them up and we're going to let you go. Like, this is part of the American mindset. So this is why no one gives a shit if Elon Musk is a grifter. No one gives a shit if Elon Musk bots his account. No one gives a shit if Elon Musk is exposed to having lied about SpaceX or Tesla. We don't care. What we do care is, will he fuck with government employees? Because if he doesn't fuck with government employees, no one fucks with them, right? So, like, in a situation where someone corrupt fucks with the government versus no one fucks with the government, I prefer the situation where someone fucks with it. I think turning federal government more into a business rather than government would result in less manipulation covertly and more transparent incentives. Well, I will tell you what I think, right? Notice how right now, most of the fucking with the grifting is on the Democrats' grift, right? Like, do you honestly believe that that Republicans don't have their own grifts, don't have their own versions of USAID and other stuff? Do you think, like, Republican politicians are just dumb and moronic not to be able to profit from the place they're in? Of course they have their own grifts. But, like, Trump is on their team. And like, his purpose, like, he gets absolutely no pushback if he fucks with the opponent's team. Now, when the Democrats come in power, maybe they will fuck with the right-wingers' grifts. And then you'd probably have, like, more grifts being dismantled. But, like, this is normal, right? Like, it's just the way it's intended. It's like, all right, well, you're obviously not going to investigate yourself, but at least you're investigating the other half. At least someone gets investigated. And this is not leftist morality, right? Like, the leftist morality is to concern troll. It's like, no, he can't do the investigation because, right? Like, they will now talk about conflicts of interest, but they can have, like, a DEI professor pushing a book or trying to change certain thinking in government or changing, like, government protocol in the military, and they don't talk about conflicts of interest there, right? So, like, let me put it this way. If Elon Musk was a DEI advocate, right? Like, if he was an activist that promotes DEI, and Joe Biden would put him in charge of the military to make sure that the military is more diverse, inclusive, and equitable. And Elon Musk would start firing people, right? Like, he would say, this general, yeah, I don't like him because he said mean things on Twitter. This other guy, I don't like because such and such. All of a sudden, the left wouldn't complain, right? They wouldn't say, well, hold on a little bit. There's a conflict of interest. Like, Elon Musk's entire career is pushing DEI, and now he is here, and he is getting paid by the government and doesn't know anything about the military, but he is imposing his ideas on the army, and no one would say that from the left. They would be fine with that. If they would have had Dr. Fauci investigate departments to see, like, how are the higher-ups pressuring the underlings into getting the Pfizer communion, trying to fire people who refuse to get the Pfizer communion. Again, the left will have no problem with this. They wouldn't say it's illegal. They wouldn't say it's immoral. They wouldn't say it's a conflict of interest, right? So this is why people have decoupled from their morality. It's because they've noticed that it's not that they're hypocrites in the sense that they got caught with something and they're trying to play it off because... No, they're hypocrites in the sense that they're malicious. They're subversive. They're concern trolling. They're bringing issues that they don't care about as a beating stick. Like, they use morality as an excellent servant, but a dreadful master. Like, they don't want morality to be applied to them. They want to be immoral people while they use morality as a weapon against others. And so this is what's happening. This is why people don't care anymore about what the left has to say about Elon Musk. Like, yeah, we know he's not perfect. We just don't fucking care as long as he keeps fucking with the government. Unnerving seems to be a leftist dog whistle. Probably. It's not the worst that they use. They haven't dropped the white supremacy one, so it's still fine. John Pro, thank you for the $10. You are awesome. Also, the pendulum swing would not be as pronounced if Israel didn't think the right would be more amicable to their expansion militarism than the left. I generally, like, don't know what to say about this. I think that the Israel lobby, right? See, I'm supposed to talk about Elon Musk and video games, and now I'm talking about the Israel lobby. How did we get to this? And thank you for the donation, Jack the Tech. I will tell you what I think about the whole American-Israel situation. Israel is doing something to the United States, which I don't know why the United States isn't doing to Israel. I don't know why there isn't a lobby in Israel by the Americans to do the exact same thing what AIPAC is doing in the US. And what is it that AIPAC is doing? Well, the United States and Israel are actually allies, despite what the internet thinks. They have vested interests. Like the United States has interests in the region. And there's also the evangelicals, right? Like the evangelicals are the ones, the neocons, if you will, that were championing for America to protect Israel even before AIPAC. And the reason they do it is because they genuinely believe that the rapture can happen only if biblical prophecies are fulfilled. And so in order to fulfill biblical prophecies, you need the existence of Israel, right? So like this is an unironic mentality that people used to have in the 90s. I remember seeing documentaries about it, and I remember seeing like politicians and right-wingers, like conservatives, talk about it. And even the ones that I went, because I went to an evangelical school that was like a minority in Romania, but like it was funded by Americans, and even they had the same talking points, and they genuinely believe, unironically, that you can fulfill biblical prophecy by having Israel existing. And on top of that, they would show you like the fields of Armageddon. It's like this is where Jesus is going to battle and blah, blah, blah. Like for them, it's not like a fictional story. Like for them, it's like a prophecy. Like they genuinely believe that it will happen. And so in America, you already had the friendly relations, the geopolitical interests and whatnot. But like, just because two nations are allied, it doesn't mean that they will always see eye to eye, right? Like there will be certain issues where the United States and Israel differs on their policies. And so it's the job of AIPAC to make sure that, you know, they realign America, they get America back on the right course so that it agrees with Israel 100%. And so a lot of, like the politicians believe it, because the way the AIPAC works is that if you don't play ball, they will fund your opposition. Like, they're not actually necessarily, like, paying politicians money directly. They're not filling the pockets of the politicians. The way I understand it works is that they're funding their campaigns. And so, like, if you're in a tight race with, like, another Republican or another Democrat, and it's like a 50-50, right? It can swing either way. Then AIPAC just donates money to the opposition if you didn't play ball. And that's where you're, why you have, like, politicians that are having these stakes. The problem is that by doing this, right, like you're basically persuading the elites, right? But you're not persuading the public. This is why you ended up with people on the ground, like the leftists on the ground in the university and in the academia, like being pro-Palestine, while the institutions, the corporations were pro-Israel, even though they're both on the left. And you notice like this huge difference in thinking based on class and hierarchy. It's because, well, they managed to persuade the elites. They didn't persuade the average Joe. With the Republicans, I do think that this evangelical take still exists, right? Like this evangelical notion still exists. And on top of that, the left were also persuaded by woke ideology, right? So like the woke ideology always sides with the underdog. It's against capitalism, cisgender, heteronormative, straight white men. And when they look at Benjamin Netanyahu, they see not a Jew, they see a cisgender, straight, heteronormative white man that's powerful, runs a capitalist nation, and his opposition are unprivileged. And so you add that ideology to the fact that they haven't been persuaded, and there you go. That's why you have like this shit on the left that is a lot more pronounced than on the right. But basically my take is that the anti-Semitism on the left is different than the anti-Semitism on the right. Like it comes from different reasons. And if you have like two anti-Semites like talking shit on the internet, and one is from the left and one is from the right, they will hate them because they're anti-Semitic for the wrong reasons and they have the wrong anti-Semitic takes. I have seen this on Twitter happen time and time again. It's absolutely fucking hilarious. right? If you take a Hassan Piker, which is anti-Semitic, and he has like terrorists on streams and shit, and you have him to have a conversation with, I don't fucking know, like some right-winger that's anti-Semitic, you will see that they hate each other, and they're disagreeing on the reason for being anti-Semitic, their takes, their conclusions. They want the Dome on the Rock bulldoze to get that new Solomon temple up. Yeah, like a lot of people in the West who grew up in very secular nations, they genuinely don't understand that a lot of religious people genuinely believe the religion not in the way that, an American woman believes in God and she goes to church and she has like a couple of takes and a prayer. Like, no, these people like genuinely believe the text. It's like, we must build the Solomon temple. We must find the red calf and we must make the sacrifice, And the other person that are there, it's like, oh, they're going to destroy the mosque, inshallah. They're going to start desecrating our religious holy sites. And that, like, for them, it's an important thing. Like, for them, it's more important than the economy, more important than geopolitics, more important than anything, right? They're playing Civ and they're trying to achieve the religious cultural victory, basically. Being anti-Zionist is not anti-Semite. Now we're playing with definitions. According to the ADL, you can get zooked from many platforms from being anti-Zionist. Or like there is no difference if you work in an institution, if you work in a academic place, or if you work in politics, right? Like they make no difference. Like they use the words interchangeably. Now it's just semantics. But like at the end of the day, you guys know what I'm talking about, right? Like I'm pretty sure all of you are smart, and you can see past the words to the spirit of my meaning to understand what I actually am trying to communicate, despite the words that I'm using. Hassan has not been banned. No, but he toned down his rhetoric a lot. I don't see if you noticed. Like he is now more unlikely. He is less likely to get terrorists on his stream. Let's put it like that. Cathedral in my city is more important than the economy. No, that's not what it means. It's more like protecting the cathedral in your city is more important than your family. Like, there are people who think like that, right? Like, the cathedral was there for thousands of years. It's supposed to fulfill some religious meaning. Defending it and protecting it is more important than literally your entire family. Remember when PewDiePie cocked the ADL? Dude, I remember when Elon Musk cocked the ADL with his heart going out for them. Anyway, right, so, holy shit. See, now you made me talk about this and I haven't even touched the article. Under the false auspices of efficiency, he's slashing workers at random. Okay, so, like, the first part of the article is spreading falsehoods. I don't like this, because if you're going to make an article that champions Gamergate for achieving this huge monumental success, I want your publication to have credibility, Saloon. Like, I want you to have people that actually believe you when they read your articles. And you lying in the beginning and spreading these falsehoods in the first couple of lines is concerning for me. The sadism is accompanied by a trollish glee that reads far more like a 13-year-old boy attempt at humor than what one would expect from a 53-year-old businessman and father of 12. Again, the shaming tactics, right? Like, this is how the left managed to hold cultural dominion, by shaming people. But when you decouple from morality, people just don't care. It's like, okay, Elon Musk is like a child. Who fucking cares? Like, let's look at his accomplishments. He is the richest man on earth. He is the CEO of several companies. He's going to act eccentric. So fucking what? Like, show me the rich person that's not eccentric. Like, fuck off with these moral concerns. Right? When you get to be as rich as him, then you can complain and you can say that he's not doing it right. Thanks for the stream, V. Off to watch Synthetic Man. He's the president of gaming. Ooh, if I say what I think about that, I'll get in big trouble. Big trouble if I say what I think about Synthetic Man. Big trouble. Yeah, but like this whole thing, oh my god, he's not acting presentable. Oh my god, he's got mean tweets. Oh my god. Where were you when there were transgender boobies in front of the White House? Where were you when there was boot sex in the Senate? Where were you when there was la cocaína in the White House? When were you when the laptop from hell came out? When were you? Like, I can keep going and going and going. Like, after seeing the leftist aesthetics, I would take a childish billionaire over a leftist any time of day. The name of the initiative is Department of Government Efficiency, Dodge. A silly meme from 12 years ago turned into Musk's favorite cryptocurrency. He tweets about Dodge nonstop, grasping onto self-serving lies and conspiracy theories, with a credulity so encompasses blah blah blah. See, like this other thing, it's a conspiracy theory. Yeah, like people do conspire, right? Why do we dismiss it just out of fact? Like, do you think in the entire history of mankind, no one has conspired? Because that would be a conspiracy theory. No, like, yeah, like people in the government conspire. We saw that with the grifts. It was actually revealed that, yeah, like people conspired for financial interests to leech off of taxpayer money. And they kept the grift going. Yes, behind the shadows, they would conspire. It's like, let's create this moral panic. And let's create this NGO that will get people to donate to us to fix the moral panic. Yeah. Oh my goodness, oh Dios gracious, like, oh, people are conspiring. No, it must be false. Like, it like, two human beings cannot conspire. It's a crime against nature. Most people are that way. I'd put I'd put self after family. Family is also, okay, this is not about what we're talking about. Efficiency is what we're talking about, which is what Dodge is doing, and it's horrifying the journalists. Fascists. Fascists has always been clowns. Really? Fascists have always been clowns. So when you think about Benito Mussolini, you think of a clown? When he was killing people? Is that when he was a clown? Huh? Like, which part of Benito Mussolini? What exactly did he do? That you would say, haha, that's so funny, that he's such a clown. When he was doing political assassinations? When he was cracking down on the liberties of the people? Like, maybe this is why lefts are sadistic fucks. Like, they look at censorship, they look at abolition of the private liberty as a clownish thing. It's like, oh, this is so funny, this is so great. Yeah, like, seriously, how the fuck can you say fascists are funny? No, they're not. If they're in power. They're not. Does that mean I should actually be grateful for Anita Sarkeesian for indirectly fixing the US government? Probably yes. Yeah, like, fascism takes itself very seriously. Do you think that if you got a meeting with Benito Mussolini and you'd have laughed at him like you'd laugh at a clown, do you think he would appreciate that? It's 20, and by the way, you know, the reason that no one gives a shit about fascism, because I always like wonder, like, why exactly did people stop caring about the fascist accusation? I don't know if you noticed that, but like the accusation of fascism was very similar to the accusation of pedophilia back in the day. Like, if you are accused of being a fascist as a politician, they would immediately just do everything to go like, no, I'm not like that. No, I'm not a fascist. Like, oh my goodness, no. Right? Because it could get you fired. It could get you ostracized from your friends. It could get your career ruined. It could get you debanked. It would get you deplatformed. And so, like, being accused as a fascist was actually a thing. Now, no one cares about being accused as a fascist. Do you know why? Well, because there's absolutely nothing that Donald Trump can do which is worse than what the left did. You guys shut down people's businesses, locked them in your homes, decided to artificially manipulate the economy through stimulus packages. You played race favor, Build Back Better initiatives. You told people to show papers when sitting at the McDonald's. You violated the doctor-patient confidentiality. You encourage hatred among citizens based on vaccinated and non-vaccinated. There is absolutely nothing that a fascist can do in order to even rival half of the amount of shit that you guys did. And so this is why people don't care about, oh my goodness, he called me a fascist. Yeah. Yeah, like fascist, incel are all meaningless now. No, Gunnar still has meaning in certain circles, but Gunnar is basic. They kind of rebranded the words, right? So instead of misogynist, it's Gunnar. right? Instead of sexist, it's Gunnar. Instead of the male gaze, it's porn. Instead of problematic, it's degenerate. So, like, some of the things have been recycled and repackaged, but, like, most of the things is something that no one cares about. Gamergate was the first major crowdsourced harassment campaign. I really like this take because they're basically saying that they fucked with the circus so fucking much that they created something brand new that the internet has never seen. So, like, up until this point, no one created a crowdsourced harassment campaign. But because the left pushed their values so hard and made the circus gay, for the first time ever, they created something on the internet. And instead of saying, okay, well, maybe we shouldn't fuck with video games, leave the circus alone, just back off from it, they decided to double down. And now they're crying that Elon Musk is slashing the government. You guys did this. You're admitting to it. You're confessing to it that, yes, like, we are responsible. We actually created this. And by the way, the left created the fascism as well that they claim. The pandemic measures were heavily supported by the press. I mean, they noticed a huge increase in viewership as people were terrorized and they were held in their houses with nothing else to do besides reading the papers, right? They enjoyed from the pandemic. They profited from the pandemic. Well, now you're going to profit from Donald Trump. This is the bill. This is the check. And the check is always due. Yeah, like, gamers were quite happy bickering amongst themselves about console wars, about, which video game is better. Like we were very happy just leaving you the fuck alone. But you thought it's like, no, we can't change society unless every single person thinks like us. And there's a lot of gamers there that would be really great if they were on our side. Let's persuade them. Let's put terms of service on them. Let's make it so that they can't trash talk to each other. Let's inject our politics into their games. Let's inject our politics into sports and everything. And so people did become politically active, just not on your side. They became politically active on the side of the people you hate. And they did this with the Bush by joining the Obama side. And they did it with Obama by joining the Trump side. Not only the circus, they fuck around with the bread as well. So I don't know what they expected. Yeah, it's just mind-boggling. And again, the circus is not just video games. They fucked with movies, they fucked with TV shows, they fucked with sports. You know, imagine bringing that, like how can you fuck with sports? It's so difficult, isn't it? Like, to fuck with sports, it's almost unthinkable. But they brought the Sisters of Perpetual Indulgence on the Dodger Stadium. They forced football players to kneel. They forced football players to wear rainbow armbands. Like, they did this to themselves. No one did it to them. It's like, even in the Soviet Union, the sports were like something that were supposed to unify people. Like, even in the Soviet Union, it was like, yeah, we're here to watch a game. But no, right? Like, it's insane. Dodge owes everything to Gamergate, from its aesthetics to its tactics to its manpower. See, I disagree with this take. I don't think, like, Dodge owes to the Gamergate manpower. It's like Elon Musk is hiring people that are competent in order to audit the government. This is not like 4chan looking into the government. These are people given access, and they're looking into the government, who are radicalized. Oh, okay, never mind. I haven't finished reading the entire sentence. My bad. Who are radicalized by the far-right social media. Okay, this is actually really interesting, and I'll have to continue it tomorrow, because today I need to start being quiet. I have this agreement with my wife that I don't make noises after 11 p.m. because the baby is asleep. And so I'll have to continue this tomorrow, unfortunately, but what I want to say is that, yeah, it's true. Like, you guys made social media gay, right? You didn't just make the circus gay, but you made social media gay. You made social media so that, oh, you can't say this word, you can't have banter, you can't say this, you can't say that, you can't do this and that. And so people went on underground. They went on 4chan, they went on other places, right? And like, oh, you can't tell journalists to learn to code? That's okay. They went to Mastodon or other places, and they told journalists to learn to code over there. And so they did radicalize. And yeah, it's true. Like, one of the people from Dodge apparently was liking Nick Fuentes. And so the left was horrified, and they're like, oh, we need to get him fired. But again, the decoupling of morality happened. And so people went, but why fire him? Like, he's doing a good job. He's actually doing what he's supposed to do. He's investigating the government. Like, this is what he's hired. He's not hired for his political takes on Twitter. And so he got him back. Like, big balls return. There you go. Anyway, right, let me know what you guys think. And as usual, I will see you in the comment section, and see you tomorrow when we continue.